Well, here we are, everyone. We got a full trailer, 5 years in the making, but we got there. We're a month out from the show premiering. We might get another trailer before it airs, but this could also be it. So let's take a look at what they want us to see and know, and what the big draws are, and how they're going to pull in the old audience as well as a new one. So let's go at it again. Overanalyzing Avatar. Everything my insane knowledge on the original series can pick out. You'll hear about it. Shots, references, differences, changes. You'll hear it all. If this is the first video you've watched from me and you like Avatar: The Last Airbender, you should check out my other videos too when you're done with this one. Anyway, shameless plugs later. Let's get into this. So our opening shot is of Zhao's lead warship when the Fire Nation sieges the Northern Water Tribe. You can tell because of this big, like, gaudy lion dragon design on the front of it.
The world might never recover. The world needs the Avatar. It needs you, Aang.
Now, I kind of rescind my point from the last trailer breakdown video, because in that one, this same voice speaks to Aang about how time seems to get all mixed up or repeat itself, which I thought was a conversation that would have taken place between Roku and Aang when he tells him the comet is returning. But everyone told me the creators say that the voiceover was actually Monk Gyatso, and now with the further narration, that becomes more clear. Here we hear the same conversation that the monks have with Aang when they first tell him of his identity, and these lines that Gyatso speaks are nearly identical.
We need you, Aang.
And especially with the reused footage from the teaser of the Fire Nation attacking the Air Temple when he says, "We need you," yeah, okay, this is Gyatso. The next shots are interesting ones. My immediate thought was that this was Roku at the Fire Temple after he speaks to Aang and then busts out and stunts on all the firebenders. Because this guy seems to emerge from a fiery wall, kind of the same way that Roku does, and his skin does seem to have like kind of a blue tint to it to me. Thought they might have been going with a more corporeal form for Roku's spirit. But now, actually, upon further review, I think this is Sozin, and this is during the attack on the Air Temples as well. In this shot, we get a bunch of information. The guy firebending seems to have walked into a room where multiple firebenders have already been defeated. And also, if you look over here, we can see that the person he's fighting is wearing some pretty monk-like robes. And what kind of seals it is that you can even see, just for a few frames here, it seems like a mini tornado seems to kick up inside of the fire blast. So yeah, I think this is Sozin, but the big thing is the soldiers that are already on the ground. As we know, Gyatso's skeleton is found surrounded by the bodies of Fire Nation soldiers, so this could literally be Gyatso versus Sozin. It could also be Sozin versus any other airbender, because that kind of seems a little too on the nose for my taste. Like the Fire Lord personally killed Aang's master. It seems sort of like, wow, that's unlikely. But also in my head, it's kind of a cool idea. Classic shot of the sky beam and Katara and Sokka reacting, and we get Aang, who kind of looks pretty dope. This might be the shot where he emerges from the ice looking all intimidating, but then falls over because the Avatar state is pretty straining. And shot of the Fire Nation capital and palace, you can tell because the building looks right, and the Fire Nation capital, of course, sits inside of a dead volcano. Its highest ridges rise above the capital city, and we can see that's the case here too in the background. Very nice. Shot of Azula firing an arrow, which isn't something we ever see her do in the show. It does seem like she's actually in a lineup of people shooting. As you can see, there's another hand that seems to loose an arrow on the right side of frame here. Could Azula be practicing archery with the Yu Yan? Maybe Mei or Ty Lee are going to be archers in this adaptation, or maybe Azula is just training with her men. Who can say? Snap cut to an explosion startling the gang. Looking at the architecture of the buildings, this is probably on Kyoshi Island, and the gang is probably talking to Suki's mom, who we know is the mayor of Kyoshi in this adaptation. And they're probably talking about how the Fire Nation is inbound and they should probably leave. What's weird though is this explosion is green when it starts. Very strange. Now we get a series of shots of Zuko ambushing some Earth Kingdom soldiers on the road, which is almost certainly when the soldiers captured Iroh and were attempting to travel him to Ba Sing Se. Which means I was right about this scene from the teaser being in that episode and that exact fight. Ha! Shot of the gang exploring the dilapidated Southern Air Temple, Patola mountain range in the back, big weird rock formations, can't miss them. Next, a shot of seemingly water tribers trying to relocate or maybe evacuate due to the Fire Nation arriving. Hard to tell if this would be at the start in the south or at the end in the north.
If the world is gonna have any chance, it's gonna need Aang.
Then we have Katara trying to convince Sokka that Aang is important in the fight against the Fire Nation. This chat also takes place at the Southern Air Temple. As you can see, this big bowl statue thing is in the shot of them exploring as well. Reuse shot of Kyoshi Island, and yeah, it looks just like the show, but somehow last video I spaced on the enormous white version of the Kyoshi statue that's just like right there, plain to see. A shot of Aang doing his classic air scooter mishap as he runs into a statue. This also seems to be playing into the beat in the Kyoshi Island episode, where he likes to show off for people as he isn't used to the reverence he gets for being the Avatar. And I gotta say, this action seems to lack a lot of the kinetic oomph you get from the show, but it's in a new medium, live action, and things can't always be pulled off the exact same way.
Right. There goes the savior of the world.
Sokka seems a little stiff in this line read to me, but to be honest, back in the Kyoshi Warriors episode, he was kinda just like that. So hopefully he's a little more open after this episode. Shot of Zuko's ship in the South Pole, no doubt. You can tell because it's much smaller and lacks the giant weird golden thing on the front. The next shot has an interesting little painting down here before Iroh steps in front of it. It's hard to tell who it's of. The trailer leads you to believe we're in Zuko's quarters on his ship because the next shot is of him and his obsessive Aang tracking wall. But whoever this is, they seem to wear a big pointed hat, and the only people that I can think do that are the fire sages, so that doesn't seem to make much sense. I don't know who this is supposed to be. Also, I bet this scene is the scene where Zuko is meditating and Iroh comes in and interrupts and says they don't know where the Avatar is, and then this candle will go all crazy with the flames. That's what I bet. The Firebender face mask looks a little more Mad Max than I was expecting, if I'm being honest. Shot of Zuko, his Aang tracking's on the wall behind him probably, and I do gotta say, yeah, I wish the burn was a little more intense. In the cartoon, it was like, holy shit, dude didn't even have an eyebrow. Even his ear was damaged from it. This seems like, I don't know, I just wish it was a little more brutal looking. But then again, if you make like a really nasty burn in live action and you want it to look realistic, it's gonna look like really, really bad. So I kinda get it. Iroh and Zuko squaring up on the road after Zuko saves them. Now this shot sorta worries me. Iroh does this little flourish before attacking with a fire blast, right? Now in the cartoon, any kind of superfluous action while bending wasn't really present. Unless they were just messing around. When they were in a fight, they were in a fight. They were doing motions to fight with. Because they had to not die. Iroh doing this little nothing flashy bit before he attacks kind of gives me some weird M. Night flashbacks that I don't really want much of. Holy shit. Another reused shot of Zuko defending himself at his Agni Kai. Still not sure how I feel about this, since the whole reason Zuko was banished was due to him refusing to fight at this Agni Kai. But I guess defending yourself and actively fighting are two different things.
I don't want the responsibility.
Is it just me or does Aang kind of flub this line a bit? He like misses a syllable in there?
I don't want the responsibility.
They went with this take. On a nicer note, it seems like he's invested with the tears in his eyes and stuff. I like it. Now the Appa CGI. It's not the best effect anyone has ever seen, obviously, but it doesn't stick out too much. Like, Appa's a pretty fundamentally hard thing to pull off in live action, and he seems to be stylized enough so that he fits the live action setting while not totally losing his cartoon look and identity. I think they did a pretty good job from what we see here. Now Sokka makes a joke here, and everyone seems to get a laugh out of it, which is a nice sign. Hopefully they can keep some of the lighthearted spirit of the original show. And oh hey Momo, you're looking far less punished today. I might even say you look cute. On February 22nd, I just want to point out the 2-year anniversary of Overanalyzing Avatar ending. This trailer dropped on the 3-year anniversary of me creating this channel. I am the chosen one. Nyla, the Shearshu, seems to be smaller in size, but that also means, oh, hello.
The world needs you. Remember what it is we're really fighting for.
More voiceover, more of the same sentiment from Gyatso. The world needs you, which is of course the same idea from the same talk as earlier. Now this is an interesting shot. I'm not sure what this is. It seems like Aang is flying towards some city or fortification somewhere, but everything is so vague it's hard to tell. This could be the town from the Winter Solstice two-parter because the next shot is of Heibai, but it seems really big. Shot of Heibai with seemingly a stock lion roar sound effect. Lovely. Heibai looks pretty gnarly. I'm kind of into it. Aang creates a dust smoke screen thing seemingly during one of the night action scenes, and there seems to be a lot of those, and that's usually done because making CG effects look good in full light is really, really hard, and they don't have the budget or the time or both to make it look good, and that's just reality. Now we get a sequence of Zhao versus the Kyoshi Warriors on Kyoshi Island. This is a departure from the original because of course Zuko is the one that attacks Kyoshi in the cartoon. I gotta say, I think at least the fire effects look pretty good. I like that they seem to have a little smoke coming off them when they're thrown, but then when they're blocked a lot more comes out. Cool effect if that's what they're going for. We have some shots here of Suki and Sokka working together too in this fight, which is nice. Sokka's even seen here with his iconic club. He seems to be wearing a little bit of the Kyoshi Warrior outfit, but not all of it, which I wasn't really expecting anyway. Next is the most confusing shot in the whole trailer. We see what seems to be the wheelchair glider that Teo uses, and Aang quickly following behind him. But they're also very clearly at Omashu here, with the package slides and everything. What is Teo doing in Omashu? Is this a big change up and Bumi welcomed the Mechanist and his people into Omashu rather than them moving into the Northern Air Temple? Or maybe this is just a flashback to Aang with Bumi 100 years ago, and this is some flying contraption Bumi made so he could fly with Aang. Shot of Aang embracing Katara and Sokka, and the latter are looking pretty ragged here. But with all the people moving past Aang, I feel this might be at the very end after the whole battle. A piece of the Blue Spirit escape scene, which is of course my favorite episode of the first season. Glad to see it in here. Now we see see Aang actively attacking a Fire Nation ship, which he doesn't ever do until the Siege of the North. What's different about it though is that he does that alone, but here we can see clearly that Sokka has Appa's reins. Some really fast action shots here. This one is Aang attacking the Fire Nation troops when they first arrive at the South Pole. From the looks of this shot, because of a shot later, I'd say this boomerang throw takes place during the fight where Jet shows up, but there seems to be a lot of forest action scenes, so we'll just have to wait and see. Boomy looks pretty great from this 1 second shot we get of him, but the earthbending effects might be the one I'm the most worried about after seeing this. It's the kind we've seen the least of, and I think it looks the shakiest. The next shots are of more effect action though, and they look pretty cool. First we have the duel between Katara and Zuko at the South Pole, which takes place at the Spirit Oasis, and if that's the case, it's definitely indoors like I said last time, which is not the case in the cartoon. This statue catches my eye though, with it being at what's supposed to be a very spiritual place. We know the live action is going to put a little more spotlight on the Avatar's past, so I'm going to say this statue is of Avatar Kuruk. I know it's a little out of left field, but I got a feeling. Quick shot of Jet defending Katara, and I gotta say, this dude kind of looks jacked. What the hell? Penultimately, a couple of shots of Aang and Zuko's first confrontation at the South Pole, including all the Fire Nation soldiers that Aang knocked over a few shots ago. Seems like they're gonna add some spectacle to this fight, and rightfully so. The one of the cartoon was pretty dull. And finally, a shot of Aang entering the Avatar state and beginning to float upward. The only time he does this in book 1 is at the Southern Air Temple after finding Monk Gyatso's body. So that's probably this scene. Also in this scene, you can hear these vocalizations more clearly, and they've been throughout a lot of the trailer. But this seems to be an old track from the cartoon, maybe slowed down a little, played in a couple different scenes, but most notably in the Zuko and Zhao Agni Kai. Water, earth, fire, air, and then the, ooh, a little stylish arrow in the writing. I can dig it. And that wraps it up. Once again, I find myself thinking this entire series hinges on the tone they go for. It's in live action, so naturally your brain wants to think that the dialogue and characters and action at the very least will be more grounded. Like, for example, you won't have Sokka zooming around a room, crossing it in a few frames each time. Like, that just won't work in the medium of live action. Same with sound design. Like, you can't have cartoonish sound effects highlighting motions. It just won't read well. So I do think they're going to go for a different tone. Hopefully they can find a way to fit in the light moments and the heart the original show has as well, because I think that's a big part of Avatar's DNA, and it shouldn't be left behind entirely at all. But like I say in my first video covering Netflix's Avatar, if you're going to go into the show expecting the exact same thing and to feel the exact same feelings the original show gave you, you're probably not going to have a good time. I want this show to be different. I go more into length about those ideas in this video here, probably do a little pop-up in the top right about now. And on that topic, remember those shameless plugs I promised? Yeah, if you're just finding my channel from this video, I cover a lot about Avatar. In fact, I covered the original show episode by episode and pointed out everything I could ever think to point out. Easter eggs and weird continuity and through lines. Oh, it's a bucket of laughs. You should try it out. Also doing the same thing with Korra currently, and we'll be covering the live action version that comes out in a month as extensively as YouTube's copyright system will allow me to. So if you like the vibe in this video, go check out my others and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Hey patrons, I know you guys are super fucking cool and you won't mind that there's no shoutouts. Shoutouts of course will return in the videos that I don't have to watch, write, record, edit, and upload all as fast as I can in one day. But of course, I still love each and every one of you.